Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this meeting to order. We don't have it on here, but I'm going to ask that everybody please stand for the pledge and a moment of silence. All right, before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, I don't usually open board meetings saying good evening, ladies and gentlemen, but I saw Coach Ted Davidson and I thought I was in Bill Dotson Stadium. I'm sorry. Got confused, Coach. Okay, tonight we're on our consent agenda. We go by Robert's rules. We're going to go one item at a time. We ask that you keep comments for or against. I'm sure tonight may or may not get emotional. Please help me help you, and we run this meeting, in a timely and respectful manner. If you have a group of individuals who are like-minded in their comments, I'm not going to prevent any comments, it is my right to shut down comments at any time, to change the amount of time. I didn't do it in March. I don't plan on doing it tonight, but if you're a group and you could send just a few to get the point across, it would be appreciated, but it will be what it will be. Thank you for coming. We'll go to 2.1. It's academics, discussion and or action regarding early obligation of textbooks, site license funds. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. President, I make a motion that the board approve the early obligation of textbooks and site licenses and release of funds to purchase ELA, math, science, and social studies textbooks and consumables for the 2024-2025 school year in the amount of $5,063,429.80 is attached in the public content section of this agenda item.
I second.
We have a motion by Ms. LeBou, seconded by Mr. DeZarmo. Is there any public comment on this item? Any board comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Seven for, none against.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, 2.2, discussion or action in regards to Board Insurance Committee recommendations for health insurance premiums and benefits.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the recommended action.
We have a motion by Mr. Hidalgo. Motion by Mr. Hidalgo. That the board approve the, wait, no, wrong one. Well, that's a long one. Okay. Yeah, I got it. The motion is, that we don't have a second, that the Board Insurance Committee recommend the following benefit and cost-saving changes to the full board as on page 12 of fiscal year 24-25 budget review from HUB. Enhanced plan deductible for individual increase from $800 to $1,100, family from 24 to 33. Basic plan deductible individual $950 to $1,200, family $2,850 to $3,600. Blue Saver, no changes in the deductible. All three plans will decrease from 80% to 20% for coinsurance effective January 2025. Addition to accept prudent RX recommendations from HUB, with annual projection savings of $612,199 effective July 1st, 2024, and to provide that all Medicare eligible employees are enrolled in Medicare Advantage plan effective January 1st, 2025, and that there be a 10% premium increase to enhanced basic and high deductible plans effective July 2024. That is the motion. Hearing no second, this motion dies. We'll move on to 2.3. Discussion and/or action in regards to an alternative recommendation for health insurance premiums and benefits. Mr. Lejeune?
I recommend that the board approve a 5% premium increase to enhance basic and high deductible plans for active employees, 15% increase to enhance basic and high deductible plans for retired employees effective July 1st, 2024. The following plan changes affect all members, both active and retired. The enhanced plan deductible for individuals increase from $800 to $1,100, family from $2,400 to $3,300. Basic plan deductible, individual $950 to $1,200, family $2,850 to $3,600. Blue Saver, no changes in the deductible. Plans will remain at 80%, 20% for coinsurance, effective January 1st, 2025. Addition to accept prudent RX recommendation from Hub with an annual projected savings of $462,199, effective September 1st, 2024.
I have a
Second.
motion. Motion by Mr. Lejeune, seconded by Ms. LeBou. I'll now open the floor up for public comment.
Gotcha. Thank you. Just point of clarification, there are some of us that are not eligible for Medicare because we work for the system and we're not allowed to pay in. Where do we fall on the chart?
Ms. Gardner?
Sorry, they're less than 100 of us.
Ms. Gardner can answer that for us.
Ms. Landry, currently you would, Mr. Jonathan, could you please pull up my screen? Thank you. There we go. So currently, on the chart, the column where it has Medicare, there would be anybody who is on the Part B, correct, Ms. Trish? So our employee/retiree only, like the BE basic plan, would be currently the premium, which should be $165 for a retiree on the basic who is not, am I correct? Ms. LeBeau, come on up.
Okay, I don't have either A or B. I'm not entitled.
Ms. LeBeau. She's coming.
Ms. Gardner, I think she falls under the regular employees.
Correct.
Yes.
At the very, very top, right here.
Okay,
Yes.
and I'm fine. I just want
Right,
clarification.
correct. So we have
before we vote.
202 employees that do not have Medicare A.
Thank
We were
you.
not eligible for Medicare A, and we do know there is a delineation. Yes, ma'am.
Right answer. Thank you, Ms. Gardner.
Okay.
Former Superintendent, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Is it on? Okay. All right. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Latchley and Mr. Lejeune for putting this item on the agenda, and I understand Mr. Lejeune did most of the legwork, so I certainly do appreciate it. One of the first things I think that everybody, certainly here, and people that were very involved, is that we were given a choice. I know I have a lot of friends who are very pro the Advantage plan, and there are a lot of people who like to stay on the Medicare and Blue Cross or Blue Cross. And so we're very, very pleased that a choice is being given. So we appreciate that. And we certainly understand that with the deficit, there's no question that you have to find the money. And we understand that going up on the premiums is certainly acceptable. And what you did, the 15%, is certainly reasonable. In the last 10 years, I was looking over historic we've had increases from 2%, 10%, 15% over the last 10 years. So everybody certainly understands that. And also I can remember when, in working with deficits, that we would get everybody in the central office together and say, okay, now, we're going to have to tighten up. Everybody's going to cut a certain percentage of that budget. Well, not everybody was elated, but everybody understood that that had to be done. So that was one of the other things that we did to take care of the budget. Another thing too, this vote tonight to me is a critical vote, because I know all of you have gotten a large number of calls, and I've certainly talked to a large number of people. And when you speak to them and you hear some of the cases, the medical situations, the things that they're apprehensive about, they're worried about it, and there's nothing more important than taking care of someone's health. And for all of the people, the retirees who have given many years of service to this system and made this system what it is today, and we need to take care of them. And so I understand, but like I said, I've sat through many votes in these boardrooms, not this particular one, but the old one and other boardrooms. I've sat through many of those. And to me, this is probably one of the most, in voting on this tonight, it's probably one of the most critical ones that you're going to go back and think about, like tonight or this year or even in your 4 years of service. It's that important, it's that critical to take care of our employees. And I think with what we're talking about tonight, what you're doing, we'll do that. So I certainly appreciate and thank you for your support.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Come on up, young lady.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity. My name is Sherry Campbell, and I just recently retired this past May, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm doing something else for me. However, not everybody has the opportunity to do that, so I'm going to just read a few things. I definitely do not agree with anything that is different with the active and the retirees. If you want to increase benefits, then increase it across the board. If you want to increase 15%, no problem. Increase the active employees the same. I want to remind that, retirees have a limited income, and unless they continue to work, like I do, you do not qualify for raises and bonuses and things like that. I've served the district, and many of these have for many years, more than myself, and it's very grateful. And I know that you appreciate it, but I would love for you to show that appreciation in the financing. We know that insurance is a bear. It's a necessary evil. Premiums increase all the time, understood, but it should not fall on the backs of those who served the district for many years in the classroom until they retired. I also mentioned that I believe it looks bad for Lafayette Parish school system. People want to say sometimes you guys have it backwards or we have it backwards. We're focusing on the wrong things. And I do believe that there's all the hours of service from the board members, the administration, the teachers, the staff, the students, everybody puts in. It takes the entire community to make the system work. However, you should not be looking to pull down the retirees who have already served in the classroom, and we have made all of our plans and our lives accordingly, budgeting, financing, making sure we have all of our ducks in a row like every teacher does. But instead, you should look to the new ones coming in, and if you cannot afford insurance, then maybe the new individuals joining into the industry should receive a fewer or lesser benefit, but it should definitely not at any time or place, in my opinion, be on the population of the retirees, or at least not at a different level than active employees. The district is losing students, in my opinion, to charter schools and private schools, but that does not mean that we as a retired population do not work very hard in our years, and we've taken everything that we've done and we've planned for our future. And I really hope that I should not expect an increase in retirees' premiums by 15%. And the whole Medicare and all the things, I don't understand. It's like an entire dictionary of words to understand, but I am sure that it is not something that they would prefer as well. So please consider that and come up with an alternate plan that shows you respect the years of service and not pulling us down. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have applause in board meetings. I allowed the first one. Please limit the emotions, please limit the outburst, and we're going to be very respectful tonight. Thank you. Ms. Mons?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to thank first Mr. Lejeune, Mr. Lachile, the superintendent, for giving us this opportunity. As somebody who's been on the insurance committee for longer than I would like to have been on the insurance committee, we have seen the ups and downs. But your insurance plan is not as terrible as people have been led to believe. For the last decade, and that's a long time in health insurance, this plan has never come to the board needing money from the general fund to fill a deficit. In 10 years, it's never happened. We had some very sick people, and that was tragic. Hopefully, it won't happen again. We should be getting a decline in our claims. We should have 4 months of this fiscal year. You all are going to look at the general fund budget. And you need to know that even though we haven't increased premiums, we have increased max out-of-pocket, we have increased deductibles, and most importantly are the prescription rebates that have gone from about $1.5 million to over $13 million in revenue to the plan. So thank you very much, and I hope you consider this plan as it benefits both the school system and the employees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Muntz. Ms. Landry?
Since my last trip was for clarification, can I have a few minutes? My name is Katie Landry, and I taught in this system, or worked in this system for 43 years. I come in support of this proposal. I'm a firm believer in compromise. Having taught American history, Henry Clay was a great compromiser, and I think this board has come to us, and employees, I think, for the most part, are willing to accept the compromise. I appreciate the motion. I think you guys are listening to constituents, which is how our representative democracy is supposed to work. I also understand the fiduciary responsibility of board members and how important that is. I do. However, look at these retirees, and they could stand up and give you all personal stories, and it's heartbreaking because we've heard some of them. But I come in support. I thank you for listening and trying to work with us to a compromise. Is it it would be great not to increase anything, but we all know it's been a bad year, and we have to assume part of that deficit. And that's what we told retirees. Look, guys, you know, if we get to keep Blue Cross, it's going to come at a premium increase. And so I think it's a really good plan for both sides. And then we go from here. If we can sit at the table and look at data and where we go from here. But I truly appreciate all of the board members. I understand your responsibility, and the superintendent. It's a difficult task coming in, you know, with just a couple of months with this. But Mr. Lejeune, I understand you did a lot of the work. Mr. Lachile, you sponsored this, but I know there was some support from the board, and we greatly appreciate it. I do, and I think a lot of your retirees out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Landry. Any more public comment? We can seat two at a time. You can come on up. You can seat two at a time. But it'll move smooth. Go ahead, young lady.
My name is Gail Harmon, and I taught in the 60s and the 70s when salaries were very low. And I count on my Blue Cross insurance. And I, like Katie, appreciate what y'all have done for us. I totally understand an increase in premium, and I'm behind it. As long as I can keep my Blue Cross, I'm good with it. Thank you very much for listening to us. I appreciate it. And my retirement check doesn't even have a comma in it, but I'm all for this to help us out, okay?
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, my name is Gene Vale. Excuse my quiver. I've never been up before.
Take your time, sir. You're amongst friends. It's good.
I want to support Blue Cross Blue Shield. My wife has had the following: a stroke, heart attack with stent, sepsis with rehab, urinary tract infection, drop foot, shingles going on now for 17 months, rheumatoid arthritis, COPD with occasional oxygen. Blue Cross Blue Shield has paid everything, no question. That's why I support support Blue Cross. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? We're going to wait. There are people upstairs. We're going to wait 20, 30 seconds if anybody wants to come down from upstairs. Anybody else in here want to speak? You can please come up and start.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Gardner. I'm the husband of a retired teacher. When I went over the proposal 2.3, there were several people in the overflow upstairs where I came from that would want it repeated or couldn't hear or clearly understand. But the biggest thing, the difference was that I appreciate the fact that you're giving the retirees an opportunity to keep the Blue Cross plan. And there was, I guess it went through pretty quick, but it's a 5% increase for current workers, 15% for retirees. There was mention of previous increases in premiums over the years, 2%, 10%. I mean, way in the past, which y'all brought up in the last meeting, it depicted 12%, 15%. There was a 20% increase, you know, for all across the board. And then the last one shown on the list was 3%, 3%. So there was mistakes made there. There was also a mention of monies being taken from the insurance fund and put into the general fund. I don't know if that dollar amount was ever set forth, but that was brought up in y'all's last meeting. So I never saw the dollar amount. Well, how much did they take, or did you actually take money from the insurance fund and put into the general fund? It was brought up in y'all's last meeting. But what I would say is that it is...
No, I think what you're talking is money being taken from the general fund and putting into the...
Well, actually, what I heard once is they were saying that they thought at one time it was from the insurance fund. So
with this, you're actually facing a $6 million deficit.
Correct, but you're saying that never happened. There was never any money taken from the insurance fund.
No.
I think, okay.
We'll do that during board member comment. This can't be question and answer.
Well,
Mama
again, okay, so I guess it's a compromise to keep retirees on the plan by taking on the 15%. All I'm saying is there were 15% raises across the board in the past, 20% raises in premiums across the board. It was depicted on y'all's sheets. So I would like y'all to look at possibly a compromise in the premium between the two retirees and the working employees. Thank you.
Any other public comment before we go to board comment? I'll wait about 30 seconds just in case there's someone from upstairs. Oh, it's clearing out? All right. Ms. Gardner, do we have the historical increases that can be put up on the board? Yes, sir. Okay. Having no more public comment, we'll now go to board comment. Mr. Hidalgo, how you doing, my friend?
Doing very well. Thank you, sir. I'm going to try to keep it brief, Mr. President, but I'd appreciate you allowing me the time that it takes to go through everything. I'll try to keep it brief.
Go ahead.
I'm very fortunate that, I grew up in the Lafayette Parish public school system, kindergarten through 12th grade. So I'm very fortunate to have gotten to know many educators in the parish. And I'm very proud to say that I know several retired educators personally. So as you can imagine, when this conversation started, the phone started ringing. It was beautiful to have a conversation with them and be able to discuss the realities of this. When I ran for office, I committed to be fiscally responsible and make the right decisions, not always the best decisions. And I would like to explain what I mean by that. But before I do, I think it's important to note, with no disrespect to anyone, that where we get our information from is extremely important. If I'm always getting my information, everything that I get is always from the superintendent. With all due respect to the superintendent, I got to tell you, the information is going to be swayed to what he wants and what he believes. We have over the years, we've had several professionals we pay big money to who do this for a living, whether it was healthcare consultants, whether it's financial consultants, whether it's outside third-party consultants who just look at it and say, duh. Yet I think the information that has been spread out within the retiree community has come from sources that are not the sources I just described. And as someone told me today, so brilliantly, today's decision is an example of how bad Google can be. Google's good, but unfortunately, when we get all of our information off of Google, we get these kind of decisions. I'm a good friends with a retiree out of East Baton Rouge Parish, and this individual told me, and I spoke to some of his other colleagues who are in the same position, so corroborated. EBR is in a similar situation. They have, first of all, we do not have Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance. We have Lafayette Parish school system insurance. We're self-insured. Blue Cross, we didn't go to Blue Cross and say, hey, sell us one of your packages. That's not how it works. We have our own package. We created our own package. So when we say Blue Cross is good insurance, this is Lafayette Parish school system insurance. It's not Blue Cross's. They just administer the plan. It's the same situation in EBR. They have Blue Cross. They have Medicare Advantage plan as a supplement. And EBR has been trying to do the same thing for years for the same reasons. They have been trying to push retirees onto the Advantage plan for several reasons. They started it because of the funding issue, because of the deficits. But clearly it's a viable plan. So they're doing it. I'll tell you that a retiree, an EBR, who chooses to stay on their self-funded plan, which is administered through Blue Cross, pays $200 a month in premium. A retiree and a spouse who stays on the plan pays $675 a month in premium. Now, what does a retiree on our plan pay? $98 a month? What about with a spouse? So if you look across the state and you look at areas who are in the same boat we're in, Vermilion Parish changed, St. Tammany, many other Livingston, many other parishes have changed over and said, no, the Advantage plan is the option. And they did it because it's not right. It's not fair for us to have to take almost $11 million. $6 million is the deficit after we make this change. This change doesn't go into effect until next year. So $10 million that we're taking right out of the classroom away from these students. Now, I want to repeat something I said at the last meeting. And I say this respectfully, but I'm so disappointed in prior boards going back 20, 30 years. Whoever promised you that you were going to have health insurance the rest of your life didn't have the single-hand ability to make that promise to you. We have a tax that pays, the proportion is 70% of the premium. This is the way it's supposed to work. The self-insured insurance fund, this is how it's supposed to work. It's its own fund. Whatever the tax brings in pays the front end of all the claims. And whatever's left over has to be distributed in the form of premiums to the members. If we're in a $10 million deficit and we split that up over 5,600 members, the premium increase is unbearable, guys. So the next step is we start reducing benefits. Well, that's not necessarily the fair thing either. When you look at the way that the fund works and you look at the way the claims are, where they're coming from. I appreciate what Ms. Campbell had to say. You know, she's a newer retiree, for lack of a better term. And there was a viable option put on the table, and it was looked over. It wasn't even a second to the motion because it was all about the emotions, and it was not about fact. You can't tell me that with all the people across this state, including within this parish, that are on this Advantage plan, you can't tell me it's not a viable option, especially given that we were going to potentially have a motion to give the superintendent to have authority to hear appeals for major life-threatening health care. I don't see this as a compromise. I appreciate Ms. Landry's comment, but I don't see this as a compromise because we're compromising money out of the classroom for the students. That is not a compromise. This fund is supposed to sustain itself through the tax and premiums, and it's not, to the tune of millions of dollars. It's not a $1 million issue where we're just going to go kick a project down the road. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Louisiana does not pay any of your claims. The Lafayette Parish school system does, ladies and gentlemen. If the other option would have been put on the table, not only would you have received quality health care, and I'll maintain that, and I'll tell you, guess what? Next year, at this time, put it on your calendar because we're going to be having this same conversation. Mark my words, and I'm saying it out of respect. We're going to have the same conversation. This is not going away. We're kicking the can as we have for the past decade or so. And that viable option, maybe something else comes up in the meantime, and I'm hopeful it does, because I don't want to see any of you having to deal with this. This is our harsh reality. I received several phone calls, emails. A lot of the information that was given to me was just not accurate. It was out of context. And this is the information that you all have been receiving. I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to send a memo out. I'm going to ask the staff to work with me. I'm going to ask you all. I don't want to just push you onto something where you don't have a choice. The opposition is heard, ladies and gentlemen, but this is not going away. Mark the word. So I'm going to ask you to please work with us, work with the insurance committee, to have conversations about an alternate route. This is not sustainable. It's not fair to our students. And I know you're going to say, well, it's not fair to us. Nowhere else in the real world has this situation. Any other company you go to work for, when you become Medicare eligible, you're on Medicare supplement. And this is not sustainable, y'all. And I'm sorry that you guys are going through this, but I just need you to know I'm doing this for the kids of the school system. I'm not doing this to hurt you all. I hope I'm never in this position. Well, I'm glad it's funny, but I'll tell you, I am going to do the fiscally responsible thing for the remainder of my term. I'm not making decisions to get reelected. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. DeZarmo.
I just want to say it's easy to kind of pick on Jeremy over there, but he is correct. This is a problem that has to be addressed at some point in the near future. We are compromising classrooms, new buildings, infrastructure, things like that, because we're going to have to pull that out of the general fund. There's no option. There's no choice. I'm against changing your lifestyle because you earned it by going 30, 40 years in the school system, and you deserve the best treatment available. I think we just didn't have the right education in place. I didn't do a good job of getting you guys ready, which is my fault. In the future, if we are at the same spot next year at this time, I will do a better job. I'll hold town hall meetings. I'll come to your house. I'll do whatever to prepare you, because like Mr. Hidalgo said, we really can't sustain it. It's going to get worse. When we get older, our medical bills don't go down, they go up. So this same group, will continue to rise. And so as a board, we have the responsibility to take care of the kids, because that's what we ran for. And of course, it's going to pull from you to help them. Of course, I've decided to not go with the idea because I respect what you guys have done. But we're going to have to figure something out, because I like new infrastructure. I like new buildings. I like the kids to be excited when they see something new. And, and nowadays, used to you had pen and paper and some number 2 pencils and you were ready to go. But now we got to buy computers. We got to buy, everything else that goes in there. So the cost rises every year, just like inflation and anything else. And we would never want to have to go up with you guys on insurance or anything, but y'all are in the same position that we're all in. I have insurance through my company that I work for, and I have Blue Cross, and we just got increased for the first time in 12 years. Sometimes it just stinks, especially when you're on a fixed income. So I just want to say, look, we have taken everything into consideration. Mr. Francis has been very open with me and everybody else on the board. This didn't just come up just so we can punish anybody. I promise you, that's not why we did it. That's not why it came up. There's a legitimate reason why it came up. Whether it's today or next year, I'll hope to educate everyone better so we can make a good decision, because every year that we're in deficit, like Mr. Hidalgo said, it's going to come up again next year. It's going to come up again the year following that. So we got to find a way to have it stop coming up, right? We got to find a happy medium somewhere. So hopefully that's the goal, is to find that happy medium. I just don't want you guys to think we didn't respect what you put into the school system, because Lord knows we did. And when you hired on, you didn't get paid the most, but you knew you were going to have good insurance when you retired. And so we respect that, 100% respect it. But as board members, we have to make some tough decisions, and this was one of them, on what to do to help balance our books, because, we don't have that money. It's not there. Like Hidalgo said, we got to pull that out of the general fund. The general fund supports, painting classrooms, building new classrooms, gyms. We have a lot of things. We have 3 or 4 new schools that really need to be rebuilt. And some of those are going to get put on delay a little bit because we're going to have to come out of pocket. So I'm done with the soapbox, but I do want y'all to know this is legitimate. There is a real reason why we had to we're coming up with these decisions. And it's, the numbers don't lie. People can lie to you and they can give you, different reasons, but numbers don't lie. And right now the numbers are really bad. And I apologize that when you guys were promised retirement so many years ago that they weren't very honest with you, because Blue Cross Blue Shield is the front, but literally it comes out of basically the public funds or the general funds. So anyway, long story short, I hope to educate you guys more. I hope we find the right happy medium plan for everybody to be happy, but just be prepared in the future. We're going to have that conversation, whether it's a town hall or what have you, or individually. I want to make the right decision for the future of our kids. I just don't want to sacrifice the path that got us to where we are. So I want to find that happy medium, and that's my goal.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lejeune?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Touchette, Ms. LaBeouf, and their insurance group for kind of putting this second proposal together. They worked really hard to do the one thing that I asked for from the get-go. I asked for a choice for y'all, that you weren't forced. I never agreed with the force. Now if they tell me I'm getting to be that age where I'm gonna have to go Medicare A and B, if they tell me in 3 years you're gonna have to do it, I have no issue with that for myself, because they're not forcing me. I have time to prepare. So I wanna thank them for that, because basically they set this up, with me and Mr. Latchley, just to try to make sure that you are not forced at this time. So I wanna thank them for doing that, but also I wanna thank you for being here tonight. There is a human element in this. It's not just numbers. So I want to make sure that y'all are taken care of. Y'all took care of lots and lots of students. You're very talented people. Talented teachers make talented students. So if we have to continue to keep talented people in the classroom, we know we got to make it lucrative for them to be in Lafayette Parish. So that's another thing that we got to look at. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your years of service, and hopefully we can continue to not force you to have to make a decision that you don't want to. Thank you.
Ms. LeBeau?
I want to thank everybody for coming out. I profusely apologize. There were a lot of you that I could not respond to. I started a new job within the last week, and I also was and everybody I spoke to that I did respond to, I told them I'm educating myself. I felt like I was drinking from a fire hose in both aspects, learning a new job and really trying to educate myself on this stuff. I don't know if Jesse Badgeron's mom's here, but he was very helpful in helping me get some of the conclusions that I needed to get and answers. Jeremy's point is very valid. This is coming out of the school system's pocket. This was always done with an intention of trying to figure out a way to, make sure that our actives are covered, our retirees are covered, and that our budget is covered. And so please know that, nobody on this board wanted to make any of these decisions. I wanted you to see this premium increase because I'm part of a self-funded plan at my own work. There's no way to sustain a self-funded plan when you have gaps of 6 and 7 years of no premium increases. I don't know how we got here. I've never been on insurance committee, and I apologize that I should have been better informed and aware, but we're very much being challenged in a lot of areas that we were not challenged in 2017, 2018, 2019. I can tell you I thought the COVID decisions that we had to make in my first year on the board were 10s, but I'll tell you that they're 2s compared to all the decisions we're going to have to make going forward. These are 10 decisions because everything is a budget. Everybody's going to lose in some capacity, whether it's the students, retirees, actives. The community at large, the staffing, everything is going to suffer. There's no one answer and no one fix, and we're going to do the best job we can, but those decisions are definitely all 10s, and I know we're taking it all very seriously. I have to thank all my board members, the ones that did the research and helped us come up with this alternative compromise. And also, just the fact that we're all discussing it, we're talking, we know that we can't do this alone, and we know that we have to support the superintendent in every aspect that we can. One thing that Jeremy did say, you know, the superintendent can phrase things that help him, but consultants can also phrase things that help them. And we know that everybody has an agenda. We need to figure out what the best agenda is for the, you know, our staff, our retirees, our students, everybody. So we're trying to really research and make those independent decisions as well. So one thing I'm going to say is I know that all of you are very active and vocal, and I appreciate all of the emails and phone calls I got. Please do that to your senators and your legislators during this session. We have so many bills that are harmful to our school system. It's 745, 725. I think it's Senate Bill 313. I'm talking education savings accounts. There are so many bills that allow the charter schools to unmitigated expansion, but they're putting more regiments on our Lafayette Parish public schools and all public schools across the state. So all I will ask of you is, as passionate and active as you were about this, can you please be as passionate and active as contacting your legislators and your senators on all those bills that are forcing us to take on more unfunded mandates, and they're exempting the charter schools. They're proposing putting money in the hands of people who are sending their kids to private schools. Those things are wonderful and they have a place, but they're a choice, and they're not a choice that our tax dollars should be supporting. So I ask that you please try to help us in advocating for that. And I appreciate all your advocacy, your years of service. Again, I appreciate all my board members' years of service, the staff. I know this is a hard decision all around, but I appreciate everybody for coming to the table and working together and having this kind of discourse, and I hope it continues. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other board comment? Mr. Bergeron.
Yeah, I'm going to echo some of the same conversations we're having, especially Mr. Hidalgo's, about the need to continue this conversation. We put an RFQ out for a new consultant. I'm hoping that in 8 months when we sit down, or 9 months when we sit down with another budget, that we have a better plan for insurance. Because if not, this conversation is going to get a lot tougher. And when we're talking premium increases, we're going to be talking 20%, et cetera, to get this fund correct. Because if the fund becomes insolvent, we're going to be having some really hard discussions about, do we move to office of group benefits? Do we look for self-insurance, right? Like, those are going to be some really hard conversations. And you want to talk about benefits and price increases and everything else that comes with it, like, that's going to be a hard decision. Mr. Hidalgo is right. We can't keep kicking the can down the road. I don't want to saddle another school board in 4 years with this same problem. I don't want to just shake my hands and say, right, like, we're not going to make this an election issue and roll into another school board, right? At this time next year, we have to have a decision. So stay engaged. Let's work with the hopefully new consultant to come together and say what plan works for retirees that also works for our fund balance and make the right fiscally responsible decision next year. But thank you.
Any other board comment? Ms. Trahan?
I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and also to apologize to those of you who I was not able to return a phone call to, or a text message, or an email. And to those of you who I did speak with and return emails to, thank you all for giving me the time to express my my comments, my concerns, and also for you all educating me on your particular issues and situations. So thank you all.
All right, buddy.
Mr. Superintendent, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask, no one said that this is your brainchild, but I got the indication that it was alluded to that this item's your brainchild. So I'd like to know, is this what you recommend? And I'd like for you to please speak to the impact, where the money is going to come from, who's it going to affect? And then also, I'd like the insurance department. We've had private conversations, but I want to state it publicly. One of the major issues with our plan, as it relates specifically to retirees, is that there are many Medicare-eligible retirees who maybe have seen a doctor for decades, and their doctor doesn't accept Medicare. They're Medicare eligible, so Medicare is their primary. Well, what's happening, which happens nowhere else in the real world, is that they continue to go to that doctor. The doctor doesn't accept Medicare. They bypass Medicare claims, and our school system is paying the full load. Yes, that is accurate. It's happening. So, okay, I'll tell you what, maybe you're right. I'd like, Mr. Superintendent, if you could, without any objection from the board, is to have your department or our next consultant look into this very real issue and come back with an audit on that issue.
So first of all, again, thank you all for coming in. And I'm talking to all of you, including our board, that a lot of these decisions that we are making is not just about insurance. And believe it or not, reason why we're dealing with insurance now is because we have to have a budget to be able to put into what we're fixing to do in May and June as far as adopting a budget for the next fiscal year. I say all of that is you have heard and you have seen everything as far as enrollment being lost because of charter schools and we're not having this. All of this is compiled to having decisions made and money's going here and money's going there. I will tell you that this is going to make it difficult on us. It is going to have to be, and I want it to be, I want you to understand what this board is saying, and if this passes, what you are getting in reference to this. For the premiums to where you get your portion and we pay that portion, there is a $4 million that the board, over $4 million that the board will put forth. With this particular policy of 15 and 5, there is going to be another $6 million hit that we're going to have to go find monies for. That is going to be the difficult thing. That is what some of our board members have alluded to, that we have to go find this one-time money. I'm hopeful, and I'm going to pray that this is something that just turns around and we're not in this position, but we have to make sure that our budget is reflecting what these projections and what these consultants are telling us. So I'm going to ask the board, and it does not have to be publicly, but I'm going to ask you guys to guide me on where you feel that we need to go to take these one-time monies. Because we can do this. We can go and we can start cutting positions. And we can start taking things away from classrooms and so on and so forth. And it means that, hey, we need $6 million, it could be 90 jobs. Do we need to go to one-time money? And this is how my mind thinks. I'm going to tell you what my mind thinks. I am worried about hurricane season. I know what the weather people are telling me. They're saying that there's going to be more storms. Something happens and we need one-time money to buy things to get kids back in school. I don't care what we say. FEMA is not going to pay you right away, and you're going to have to find that money until they do. I've been in government. I've seen it. That's what's going to end up happening. You have to have that one-time money. And I'm hopeful that that never happens. And I know that that's just, I have to plan, just like we all have to plan in our budgets at home, to make sure that we have that rainy day in case something would happen and you got to pay for something. I worry about losing a school. I worry about all that because I need to have kids in school so that education can continue. So I'm going to reiterate that, number one, this is a huge sacrifice that this board is putting forth. You know, $4 million no matter what, that would have been, whether it had been the 2.1, the 2.2, or 2.3, $4 million, that's a portion. But this particular plan is $6 million that we have to go to take out of one-day funds to be able to get us through this next school year. So again, board members, I'm going to take whatever guidance, I'm going to take whatever suggestions you guys have. I'm going to do whatever I have to, but we're going to bring you a budget. I'm the Secretary Treasurer. I have to get our team to come together, and we have to bring you a balanced budget, but we also have to look at certain projections that are happening as far as our budget moving forward. Thank you.
Any more board comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Eight for, none against.
Motion carries. Miss Landry, you had asked for a moment. Let me give you that moment. And just in case y'all didn't know, she was my American history teacher, and it's very strange when you're old. I didn't say old. When your former teacher
I'm so
calls
glad you
mi-
didn't say that.
When you call me Mister, don't do that.
Okay. All right, Brett. I know this is an extremely difficult position for the board and decision. I personally think it's the right one right now because I really think if all parties come to the table with an open mind, accurate figures, and I'm not insinuating anything, but during a year, I think we have time, if we have an open, honest discussion, and everybody's open-minded, that maybe we can figure something out, and that is my hope. But on behalf of the retirees, I want to thank each of you. I know you voted your convictions, and it was difficult because of the type decision it is. But please note that your retirees, I think, I can't speak for everybody, but I think the vast majority are really pleased and happy that you were willing to work with us, and we're willing to work with you. So I want to commend you. I probably will be one of the most difficult decisions you will have made sitting on the board. And I thank you because you listened and you listened to constituents, and it's a very emotional issue. So once again, thank you. And now you can bang me out of order. You can gavel me out of order, Brett, because I know I'm out of order with these comments. I should have been later, but thank you very much on behalf of everybody.
But as many times as I made you fuss at me, I'm not going to fuss at you. But it is strange.
And I'm proud of you because you have Henry Clay's traits. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to the next item, which is our final item tonight, I do want to say when you sit here and look and see, I probably know half of the room, you know, and the great part, I'm term limited. I ain't running for re-election.
And he's going to be a grandfather.
Yes, yep, they announced yesterday. First one, I'm done. 2.4 is insurance. Discussion and/or action regarding a district mandate of Medicare Parts A and B on after May 8th, 2024 for retired members. I'll entertain a motion. Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bergeron, seconded by Ms. Mason. The recommended action is that the board approve a district mandate of Medicare Parts A and B on after May 8th, 2024 for retired members. I'll open this up to public comment. Ms. Landry?
Just a point of clarification, I
Yeah.
promise. Point of clarification, same issue, Ms. Gardner. Those of us not eligible for Medicare ever, does this affect us? That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Any other public comment? And could someone outside tell me if we still have the people upstairs that I need to wait for? Nobody? Okay, we see somebody coming to the door. Okay, hearing no more public comment, I'll ask for any board comment. Mr. DeSarmo.
I just got one thing. I also want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. We knew this would be a heavy crowd. We knew it was a very popular, unpopular agenda item. So I do appreciate you guys coming out. It's great to know where your constituents stand. It helps you make better decisions as a member. And second, I will be replying to everybody else's email that I did not get to yet. Some of them snuck up on me. And I will be getting back to you, if for no other reason, just to let you know that I have read it and took your concerns into consideration.
Any other board comment? Mr. Lejeune?
I'd like to recommend those of y'all that are getting to be the age of getting to be 65 and getting on Medicare A and B to go ahead and schedule an appointment with Ms. LaBeouf and her team. She does informative sessions on Medicare Advantage plans, alternate plans. She is super informative. I didn't have any idea about any of this when I started. Learned a lot, but learned a lot from going and visiting with her and going on those Wednesday night sessions and learned a lot from her. So I advise you, if you're interested in learning more about it, just go ahead and schedule it and go sit and listen. Super, super informative sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lejeune. Okay. It's usually one comment per board member, but go ahead.
All right. So importantly, I just want to make sure that I make this clear, because this is not coerced. I wasn't told to say this, but Mr. Touchette and I had multiple conversations, and he was willing to put himself on the line for you guys, that if there was an emergency situation and you could not get a doctor, because I know some of you complained that switching was going to be bad for you, he was going to do an executive order and make sure it was approved, and you were going to get bypassed to get in. Now, we all can say, well, would he have really done that or not? Well, if he didn't, then we wouldn't extend his contract, because that means he would have lied to us, right? So ultimately, Mr. Touchette is doing everything he can as a person and as in his position to try to make this better. And like I said, he actually promised to, if you came to me and it was a serious situation, he was going to approve it. He was going to make sure you were in. So he was trying to make it seamless. He was trying to make it painless. We're going to come back to him on that favor later, because we might need that again, but just to show you how serious we are about trying to make the right decision.
Okay, I'll remind my fellow board members, let's keep the comments to the actual agenda item. Young lady, I see you standing there. Public comment is closed, but you know what? I can break the rules. Come on up. I've been accused of breaking the rules before. I'm going to break them again. I'm breaking Robert's rules.
Can we do it? Can we get a legal opinion on that right quick?
For number one,
Yeah, no. Oh, somebody will report me to the ethics board. It's all right. Secretary of State. What is it? Attorney General. Yeah, we'll get the email. Go ahead, young lady.
my name is Betty Alford, and for some of you may remember, I was the school nurse supervisor. And this is sort of deja vu for me, because it seems like 3 or 4 years ago, we went through this big thing with Humana, and it makes me wonder, is Humana the only insurance company that we've reached out to, or that's all we hear is about Humana? And I had a very unfortunate experience with Humana, but I've heard wonderful things. It's fine for people who want it. And as far as for the Advantage plans, Mr. Lejeune, I've thought this out as a medical professional, and I've talked. The Advantage plans, Medicare will no longer be your primary. Your insurance company will be your primary. And they will decide what tests you can have and who your doctor will be. And although right now, when they're promising you everything, because they did that before, but if the deficit is truly going to be what the insurance consultant said it's going to be, and the insurance company, they're there for profit. They're not going to absorb that deficit. They're going to cut out services. That's my own personal feeling. And if people like you, but I just so appreciate if you can work it out that we have a choice. We don't have to take Advantage, and certainly we don't have to take the Humana Advantage plan. My unfortunate experience when I switched, when they first presented, because they promised everything. You could have a gym membership at Reds and you could have everything. And I had a blood pressure medicine that they said they wanted me to take another medicine. My doctor said no. Well, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but anyway, they would not back down. And they were very rude about when I called. I, at one point, said, "You're telling me that some committee in South Carolina knows better what I should take than my doctor, who has been taking care of me for 20 years. And the lady very sassily said, "It is not a committee, it's a board." Well, you know what? I don't care if it's a board. I don't care what it is. I was very, very taken. So they didn't reach out. Anyway, that's my problem. But I do have a problem with Advantage plans, and so I hope you can work it out that we can somehow stay with Medicare. And I know Medicare may be in trouble too. We're all, and I know what you face, and I appreciate it. But you know what? Whatever else, I was at the school board for 25 years. Every time it was time for a budget, and I think Mr. Lemoyne kind of said this, it was always a crisis. It was always cut your budget. We don't have any money. We're going to have to shut down. And then suddenly the school board farrier, somebody came by and took care of all that. And we never had to do it. So I'm not, you know, I just appreciate what you do. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's been a long time, but
I recognized you, and I thank you for your support 10 years ago. Ms. LeBoux?
Oh, I just want to echo Mr. Lejeune, or Lejeune, however you want to pronounce it, his statement. Trish LaBeouf has been amazing through this process. I want to commend her. I know she has one of the hardest jobs here, and you know, she's doing the very best she can. I know that we have a hardworking staff. Period. Ms. Gardner, Mr. Touchette has been amazing at appointing people in the right spots who have saved us a lot of money. Mr. Gautreau, Desiree Early, they have saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we are doing everything we can. I have to commend the superintendent. He has been very, very wise in a lot of these decisions. But I know Trish is a gem, and please go visit with her. And thank you for your support, and thank you for always, working with us to try to figure out the best solution for insurance. So we appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to ask again for
Mr.
any board
Latchley,
comment
one
that
last time.
pertains to the actual agenda item. Yeah, if it doesn't pertain to the agenda item anymore, I'm not going to allow it.
It doesn't. It doesn't. This just for Ms. Gardner. You can blame her.
How am I going to tell you,
All
no,
right.
Coach?
So she did say that that I just talked about, the next Humana meeting from Ms. LaBeouf's department is going to be April 25th. You can learn a little bit more if you're interested. Doesn't mean you have to switch. It just means you're going to be educated. Hell, y'all are all educators. Y'all understand it. They'll educate you. And it's April 25th, so I urge you, give it a shot. I did. I've learned. I brought my wife, and it was very informative. Doesn't mean you have to switch.
Thank you. Mr. Hidalgo?
I do want to commend Ms. Alford. It's not easy to get up here and speak, and I commend her for being lighthearted and having fun with it and joking around, because this is such a major topic. I will say, though, there is no school board fairy. So every year when there's cuts, it's real. It's real to somebody, whether it's personnel or whether it's, even if it's buildings, that our kids deserve. Despite what you've seen, as I mentioned, I have a lot of retiree friends, and so I've been privy to some of the interesting things said about me in your text messages and Facebook posts and emails. I assure you of one thing. What Mr. Lejeune said, what Ms. LeBoux indicated, and all board members, please educate yourself. Please remain engaged. Please come to our board insurance committee meetings where we have these real conversations. We talk about the budget deficits every year, and not a whole lot of folks come to our budget meetings and understand the real impacts of the decisions that are being made. So I ask you to please stay engaged. I assure you that whether you talk to me one-on-one or at a board meeting, you're not going to get a more passionate, dedicated person than me. So whatever it was you heard, you can believe it, but I'll tell you what, I will be here to do the right thing, and I want you guys to be part of that decision. And the only way to do that is if you guys will show up. And you don't have to all show up. You send somebody to represent your wishes, and so that we can really have open conversation. And I guess nobody.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. We haven't had one discussion on this item since I did it, so. Yeah, but I can do that. I'm the one that's going to get in trouble. Madam Secretary, I'll call for, the vote's there. Thank you. They were waiting. Oh, I've already been fussed at. It's okay. Not tonight. No. For the March meeting, I got fussed at. I got fussed at, I think, for the February meeting, too. It's all good.
7 for, 1 against.
Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our agenda for this evening. Meeting adjourned.